All right. Bit of feedback. We're good. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here for the November regular board meeting of the Interstate 35 Board of Education. We'll do a quick call to order. Nathan Gibson here.
Dan Hutton here.
Jessica Buckland here.
Melissa Keller here.
Monica Strange here.
Ross Boffman here.
Thank you. Could you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? We'll review our I-35 mission statement, district priorities, and board goals. Mission statement: the Interstate 35 Community School District exists to develop lifelong learners and responsible, productive, successful citizens in an ever-changing society. Our district priorities are to articulate and support a cohesive student-centered pre-K through 12 vision for continuous school improvement, engage in effective teaching and relevant learning for the 21st century, and operate with fiscal integrity, efficiency, and effectiveness. And added new to it are our 2024-25 board goals, which is continue to strengthen the culture of learning at Interstate 35 Community School District that lends to engaged learning and rigorous growth. And by the end of 2024-2025 school year, the school will ensure transparency and will achieve optimal resource management by aligning staffing levels with student enrollment, maintaining a balanced budget, and ensuring full compliance with Iowa taxation laws. And since this is our annual board meeting, I will hand it off to April, who will take it from here.
The first is our election of board president. So now I will open the floor for nominations for the office of president of the I-35 Board of Directors. I ask that nominations be made in the form of a motion.
I motion that Nathan Gibson is president.
Okay, there is a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay. Answer aye or nay when I read your name. Jessica?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye.
All right, so Nathan, will you please stand? Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of President of Board of Directors in the Interstate 35 Community School District as now and thereafter required by law?
I will.
Perfect. Now we'll move on to the election of vice president. Same, I would ask for nominations be made in the form of a motion.
I'll make a motion for Melissa Keller to be nominated.
All right, we've got a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I second that.
All right, and I will read your names, so please say aye or nay. Jessica?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye.
All right. Melissa, if you would please stand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Vice President of the Board of Directors in the Interstate 35 Community School District as now and thereafter required by law? Thank you. All right, and I will hand the meeting over to our president, Nathan. Yes.
All right. Thank you, April. All right, next we have discuss or approve the agenda. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Been properly motioned. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Been properly motioned and seconded. All those in favor signified by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next, we have discuss and approve the committee representation. This is a single discussion and kind of deciding for each of the Warren County Conference Board, Madison County Conference Board, Clark County Conference Board, Negotiations Committee, and actually, let me go through. So Warren County Conference Board, it's currently Monica. Madison County Conference Board, it's currently Dan. Clark County Conference Board is currently Melissa. Negotiations Committee is currently Monica and Dan. The School Improvement Advisory Committee, which is currently Jessica and Nathan. Facilities Committee, which is currently Dan and Melissa. And Insurance Committee, which is currently also Dan and Melissa. So is there any changes to anything? Any discussions? Okay. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the committee representation.
I'll make a motion to continue the representation as is.
Been properly moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signified by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next, we have discuss and approve the superintendent recommendations on annual designations. Again, same thing. We can have a discussion on each one, but can be a single motion for each. So first, we have board secretary and treasurer. The recommendation is stay with our current April. School depository is the recommendation is Union State Bank and ISJIT. Union State Bank and Truro, maximum depository of $10 million, and ISJIT, maximum depository of $10 million. Legal counsel, recommendation is Allers and Cooney. School insurance, recommendation is EMC. Office of District Publication, recommendation is the Madisonian. And then our regular board meeting date and time continues to be the same, the fourth Monday each month at 6 p.m. Level 1 and Level 2 investigators. Level 1 is Jessica Reisner and Angela Steinlage. Level 2 is the Madison County Sheriff. Our ADA 504 coordinator, Ms. Stephanie Good. Equity coordinator, Mr. Beckel. And reconsideration committee, recommendations still to stay the same of Heather, Emily Brayton, Jill, Tanya, Abby Meese, and Remington Hutton. Is there any discussion on the recommendations for the annual designation? Seeing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion on the annual recommendation of, the recommendation of annual designations.
I motion to approve.
So in properly motion to approve the annual designations. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next, we have open forum. Again, I'll read this off, but I don't think we had any, but residents and students and staff who would like to address the district about relevant topics. Those who wish to speak must sign up at the beginning of the meeting. Speakers' participation is limited to 5 minutes per meeting. We ask speakers remember that Iowa law prohibits the board from discussing specific employees, students, or their performance. In April, did we have anybody? No. Okay. No sign-ups for student forums. So next, we have the student representative report. Hello, good sir.
Good evening, everybody. So a little bit of what has happened over the past month. The NHS has held an Ironman volleyball tournament, and this is a competition between each grade, so freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And with this, the boys form teams and the girls are coaches. And with this, they go against each other, and the sophomores wound up winning that. And this was a free will donation, and NHS raised approximately $200 for this. So that's a good thing. NHS held a blood drive as well, and they had approximately 60 people who donated, so that's also a really good thing as well. As far as band goes, there was an honor band in Earlham, and that was just last week on Tuesday, and there were 7 high school students that went to that. Keegan Strange, Coulter Good, Michael McClelland, Ian Schumacher, Talia Nagar, Brianna Fonts, and Evelyn Martindale. So congratulations to them for getting selected to go to that. Upcoming event, the I-35 Booster Club is having a vendor fair, and this is Saturday, December 7th. There will be many food vendors, and Santa's coming, so that'll be exciting for the little ones, you know. And Santa will be there from 10 in the morning to 12, and the Boy Scouts will be having a food drive as well, collecting non-perishable food items, and this will to help families in need. So bring your family, and it'll be a good time. Some career events. A lot of people like the one on November 1st, the Mid-American. That was the skilled trades, and with this, they got to learn electricity and welding, and they actually got to go through like a welding simulation that was like computerized. It's kind of cool. It shows you your accuracy and stuff like that, and the students really enjoyed that. And some upcoming ones, there's a skilled trades at Baker Group, and that is December 10th. And then there's kind of a long gap in between. The next one is the Polk County Health Care Workforce, and that is February 4th of next year. And as far as sports goes, wrestling practices have started, and the girls have had a few meets. And at a duels meet, I think this was about 2 weeks ago, they placed 3rd, so congratulations to them. And the boys are having wrestle-offs tomorrow evening to see who earns the varsity spots, and their first meet is an invitational meet at Independence High School, and that is on December 6th. And the girls' next meet is a tournament at Valley High School on December 14th. And as far as basketball goes, practices have begun for them as well. The boys' first game is tonight, and that is at Central Decatur. So good luck to them. And the girls' first game is tomorrow versus Central Decatur at Central Decatur. So, any questions, anybody?
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that thorough report.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have Roadrunners Celebrate Success. I think first up, we have the FFA student, and Miss Bedwell will present their trip to FFA convention. Not sure. Oh, okay. Michael. Oh, no. Yeah, we'll see if it works.
Might have to send it to Chad
Yeah.
or Mr. Graham. All you gotta do is believe your results. Slideshow.
It's a nice truck. That's what you guys drove out there, huh?
Just making sure, bro. Just making sure. Should have borrowed the van. I have another one now. You want to sit here, Ross? I can push the button, flip the pages.
Yep, that'll work too.
Just look at him and go,
Just say next. Yeah.
no,
Oh. All right.
you're way cool.
The floor is yours, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, is it on? Hang on. There it went. There we go. Okay, you can hear us? All right, perfect. I'm just going to pick it up. Okay. So I'm Brady Streeter. I'm the vice president of the FFA chapter. To my left is Carl McMichael, and you guys know Ross. So we're going to present to you today of all the things that we did when we went out to the FFA National Convention. And I'm going to hand it off to Ross.
So, going after we got there, we went to the Indianapolis Speedway, and this was pretty sweet. We got to see like how it has evolved over time, and like how the track has evolved, how the cars have evolved. It's crazy. The safety regulations has gone wow since the start. Like before, the drivers used to sit up kind of higher in the cars, and now they sit down low to where you can only see their head. And this is because, crash reasons. And as far as the track goes, it has evolved over time, and it's about 2.5 miles long, and it took about 3.1 million bricks to build. And yeah, it's pretty sweet.
The next thing we did was the Cinnamon Ridge Dairy Farms, and we learned how the cows all get milked using robots, and they walk through the pen into the milking station, and the robots just automatically clean them off and milk them, and then the milk goes into a storage tank, and they kick the cows out, and it's a completely automated process. And so there they have like the top 5 cows in the world for the most milk produced. So it's pretty sweet. They're a pretty legitimate farm area.
All right. So another thing we did on the way out to Indianapolis was we stopped at the Rock Island Lock and Dam. That's in Davenport, Iowa. And that was really cool for us to look and see, because the way the lock and dam works is it's boats or barges are allowed to come in. Underground tunnels will fill the lock with water, which levels it out with the level they want to get to, and then they will drive on through. That's really cool. And then they had a bridge that ran over the top of the lock and dam, which was really neat because basically it wasn't motorized. It was all based upon wind power to turn the bridge back and forth. So the operator would let off a brake, and the bridge would rotate out of the way for the barges to come through. And then when they needed to let traffic go back through, they would let the brake off again, and it would swing back the other direction. And yeah, it was really neat to kind of see how that worked, especially because there's no mechanical parts in it. So that was really cool.
And then during one of the sessions at the convention itself, we got to listen to Temple Grandin speak. She talked about how people with autism can do powerful things and build great things upon different infrastructures and stuff like that. She talked about how people learn, where you have your visual learners, your auditory learners, and like your hands-on learners. And she said that it's important for everybody to work together because, everybody learns differently and everybody can accomplish certain tasks differently, and makes for more forward progress.
The next thing we went to was a rodeo, and it was pretty sweet. There were lots of bareback horses and bull riding, and there was actually a stunt lady with a couple of horses. She stood on both of the horses and rode around the arena, and they jumped over like a fire hoop and some other stuff. So it was pretty cool.
So one of the last things we did when we were out there in Indianapolis was we watched our advisor get her American degree. And this is really important and really neat because there's only like 1% of the kids in FFA actually achieve this degree. It's very difficult to get. It takes a lot of records of your SAE projects, which is something that we start on when we're at Green Hands, which is the freshman level, and we work all the way through to keep records of everything we do with our SAE projects. And if you keep good enough records and do enough as far as community service and other hours, you eventually can get your American degree. And so that was really cool. The way they do that ceremony is they start in alphabetical order. This year they went from the end of the alphabet to the beginning. And so they let each kid go through, they'll list off the names of each kid according to alphabetical order, and then they'll go through and get their awards. That was really cool to watch.
And then, if we didn't have a session going on, we could go around and visit different people, like technical institutes and colleges, and people in the workforce too, and get to learn more about their programs and kind of see if it's a path we wanted to take, or if something, there might be something a little bit different for us that's better. So, yeah, there's lots of opportunities during these conventions as well.
That's everything. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Yeah, I have a question. From this event, this excursion, lots of fun places that you guys have gone. Have any of you landed on a career path from this? Or an idea, or just...
So, yes, actually, during CDE days, which is career development events, we'll have different contests and stuff. So like poultry judging, livestock judging, and other sorts of judging as well. And there actually be colleges and different career institutes that go to these places. And for example, I've talked to AgriVision. They went to the one CDE Day event in Osceola, and I'm actually getting connections with them to start working here soon for them. So, yeah.
What was you guys' favorite part?
The rodeo.
Are you going to be a cowboy?
Yeah, that's what I always wanted to be.
So I had a question on the dairy farm, the robotics side of it. I've seen videos and stuff of kind of how that works, but I know from working at a dairy farm when I was your guys' age that some cows have antibiotics and things like that. Did you guys learn how that machine not only milks but also makes intelligent decisions based off the cow that's going through?
So we did actually. So each cow is I say tagged, but they each have a collar with an ID tag on it, and so that's how it knows which cow goes through the milker and how many times it goes through, and then if it's been milked already, we'll just let them straight through. But then if there's one that has an infection or something like antibiotics in it, they can actually sort that milk off into a separate bucket, test it, and then if it does contain whatever they're worried about it containing, they'll dump it out and wait or treat the animal or whatever they need to do. So that's how, if I remember right. Anything to add to that, guys? Okay, yeah. So yeah, that was the basic gist is what I understood it as.
Perfect. That answers my question. I wondered how that happens. Coming from a guy that accidentally dumped a cow taking antibiotics and milk into my uncle's 500-gallon tank and cost him a lot of money. So I was wondering how robotics did that. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Next, we have Ms. Egley is going to share information about the Spanish trip opportunity for the students.
Is it on? All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Before I even started teaching, I got this opportunity to take kids abroad. I believe the former Spanish teacher was going to, and then she kind of passed it on to me. So I reached out to the travel agency, which is called Educational First, EF, and we kind of started from there. They allowed me to pick wherever we would go. So I picked Spain. I picked Spain because I'm the most familiar. It's the country that I've been to the most in my years. About 2 years ago, I studied abroad there, so I lived there for about 5 months, and then even in high school, which I'll get kind of into, I took a trip to Spain as well. So a lot of these places that these kids will have an opportunity to go to, I've been to in various different ways and times. So that's why I picked Spain. Then if you scroll down, sorry. Why travel? So why is this a good opportunity for our students? Like I'd mentioned before, I had an opportunity when I was a junior to to go abroad with our class. Historically, growing up, I knew a lot of people who went to Spain with other different Spanish teachers, so I was very well aware with it. And then our teacher, they offered it for us, so I took it, went with a bunch of my friends, stayed there for about 10 days, stayed with the host family, and absolutely changed my life. So before that, I really liked Spanish. I was pretty good at it, but I didn't really see a future in it until I took this trip. And I just fell in love with the culture, the language, and the idea that I could connect with people in a different language and not of my own first language. So, and I even told the kids, I had rolled out this trip, kind of told them what it was going to be about, kind of just hinted, hey, we might be going to Spain. And I told them, this is a trip, when I went to high school, is the reason why I'm a Spanish teacher today. So it absolutely changed my life. Came home. My mom even told me I was a different person because I was that, I'm going to stay in True, Iowa. I'm never going to leave. I always want to stay with my parents. And she could tell after that trip that I was done. I wanted to go explore the world. So this, for me, changed my life. And I hope that with this opportunity and other opportunities in the future, that that can give the same opportunity for students, as well as just cultural awareness, and it just gives them a different perspective than you don't get in True, Iowa, or even Des Moines, or even the United States, because the Spain culture really isn't represented around here, because there's not many people. We know more Mexican culture and more South America, but Spain is very different, and I think it's a great opportunity. So that's why it's important. Scroll down. So in Spain, we would be going to a lot of different cities, the most major cities in the country. So we'd be going to Madrid, which is the capital. And then as we're traveling down south, we would hit Toledo, which I have been to, which I loved. Then we would go to Granada, which that's where I went to when I studied abroad, so I'd also been there. And then we'd also go to some places that I have been to, like Cordoba, Cádiz, and Sevilla. So these are very iconic cities in Spain. When you think of Spain, these are the cities that you think of. They're going to get activities that are enriched in the culture. And so those are kind of the places that we're projected to go to. This is also a 10-day trip as well. So to kind of highlight, we'd be going to the Alhambra, which is a mosque in Spain, which is probably one of the oldest mosques that's the most preserved, which is really beautiful. Granada is a beautiful city, and this would be a great thing for them to see how much culture, maybe see a different side of Spain that they didn't know. And another opportunity that we'd be able to go to, if you scroll down, is in Sevilla, which is the Plaza de España, which shows all of the different provinces that Spain has. It's a really cool place for them to go. And then one last thing, we would go to Cordoba, which also has another mosque. It's the second most preserved mosque in Spain as well. And then, for selfish reasons, I've never been to a flamenco evening, and it's just one of the most iconic things in Spain. So I made sure that we put this included in our trip, so they'd be able to see it as well. And you can't forget about the food, because Spain has amazing food. It's very different from what we are used to. We think of a lot of tacos and enchiladas, like the Mexican food, but Spain has its own cuisine, which is really cool. Also, to include it in our trip, we would also be able to make authentic dishes with natives. So they'd be able to kind of work on their conversational skills, and also something like you don't always get to, maybe in restaurants, get to eat the most authentic food, so to be able to cook it with natives would be just so cool. So everything that they get is, they get flexible payment options. I made sure to add a protection for them. That way if they did have to cancel they're able to cancel up to a year and then get almost a full refund of their money. That way it also goes into our peace of mind program that if they were a little bit wary about signing up, that they would have options to kind of cancel with whatever reason that they had. There's also project-based learning opportunities, education. That's kind of where the educational first comes from, where they'd be able to get a half high school credit. We'd have to work with Ms. Steinlage. They would complete a learning guide. And then they could also, after our trip, enroll in college credits to get 3 college credits from a community school through the agency, that it would just kind of be more enrichment in the culture and kind of they tie it into the trip that they took. So there's a lot of cool things that is included, as well as it's not up there, but there's airfare. All of our landmarks, they'd get entrance tickets. They'd get a personal tour director. We get our own transportation, hotels. Everything would be included in the price. So they get a lot. And so this is the price. We've had a lot of interest. I think we have a really good group of kids who, I think we have about 18 that have expressed immense interest. They really want to go. Their parents have all the information. They know how much it costs. We've talked about fundraising ideas that we could do throughout the year, because this trip is not until spring break 2026. So we'd have a lot of time to raise that money. We'd also be able to, they'd have their own fundraising pages where people can put money in, or we just have a group fundraising. So we would have to talk about when that would happen. But a lot of this doesn't have to come from their own pockets. We as a group could work together. But yeah, this is a trip. I opened it up for everyone. It didn't have to be just Spanish students, because honestly, this trip really isn't about using your Spanish. It's great if they're going to, but this is just more of a cultural experience and kind of getting out of somewhere that they're used to. So this is kind of the opportunity that I raise for kids, that kids know. Like I said, we have a great group of kids that are wanting to go, and I think this would be an amazing opportunity for them.
Thank you. Is there any questions?
I was just going to say, super exciting that you're putting this together. I think, I was just thinking, oh, when was the last time that we had a group that went? So I was glad that you shared that, and that you've been there before. I think that's going to be comforting for parents. So I think a recap, it'd be great to see like a little bit of video from that. Just, not that you have to record the whole time, but that would be just awesome and hear firsthand experience from the kids. My other question was how many kids have interest, and you said 18 kids. That's phenomenal. What's the max on kids, and like how many parents would you need to go?
So honestly, the max,
or the ratio, I guess.
So the ratio is 1 adult for 6 students.
Got it.
So we have 18, and so we have earned 2 chaperone spots. There's also been a parent who've expressed interest in coming. So this was also open to parents can come and students, so they can also come with their kids. We've had a parent express interest how they want to come with their kids. So we'd have about 3 chaperones with our 18 kids, or more. I guess 17 kids. We have 18 travelers with the parent. Yeah.
Great. Awesome.
Does it get cheaper if you get more people involved?
It doesn't necessarily get cheaper with more people involved, because they have to pay their own way with with the planes and the airfare and the transportation. So that would be the price that they would have. If we had more people involved, we would probably have more opportunity to fundraise and get more people involved, and they can do maybe one fundraise here, and then earn money that way. But I don't think it would necessarily get cheaper if more people were involved.
Okay, do you have a fundraiser already set to?
Nope, we haven't really talked about what we can do. But I know a lot of the kids who have expressed interest, they're really good at fundraising, so they've kind of been like, oh, we can do this, Miss Egley. Like, they're really excited.
Perfect, thank you.
I just want to echo what Melissa said. Thank you so much for bringing this opportunity to kids. As a person that spent a lot of time in Europe, you're absolutely right. The culture is totally different. The food's totally different, but it's phenomenal. Some of the things, I have to remember when I'm over there is our country's a baby compared, to the age of some of the stuff they see over there, and it's just a lot to soak in and get your head wrapped around. How many days is the trip total again?
So it's about 10 days.
Okay,
Yeah.
10 days. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again. And I'm sure, speaking to all of us, if you need any help or ideas on fundraising and stuff, I think all of us have been involved in that. And there's plenty of people in the community to help you with this. So thank you.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
guys.
All right. Next, we're moving on to the administrator's report. We had one from Ms. Woods and Mr. Beckel. Hopefully you all got a chance to read that. Were there any questions or discussions on that?
I just wanted to say, I got stuck sort of in a rabbit hole watching almost every Beep Beep Network video. And pretty soon it was like an hour, and I'm like, oh, there's Cora. So I love it that they're out there, and that is so much fun. I was actually sending a lot of pictures to parents that hadn't seen it yet, and they were super excited to see their kids. So really, really cool.
I can echo that as well, as I was going through those, so I won't go down that. But also, I saw how much work you guys are doing fundraising, and I think that's just phenomenal. And I just wanted to give a public shout out on the mic that Ms. Woods and her team are still looking for a long-term community partner to support the book vending machine and getting new books in and out of there. So if people are listening to this recording later on, or anybody in the crowd, please bring ideas to her for that, because that was a phenomenal addition to our elementary last year, and we want to make sure we keep that thing alive. So good work on the fundraising. That's almost $7,000, I think, between the two grants that you got. So thank you for your team's work on that, because I know those aren't easy to apply for. So also, the one other comment, and this is probably for you, Chad, later we can talk about. Ms. Woods had some discussion points on here about the space we're running out of in elementary. And I know sometimes it may be confusing, because people are like, well, wait, our enrollment went down 11. Why are we running out of space if we're not growing? And I think it really is the additions of the programs and different things that our elementary team is bringing on board that is still causing those space requirements. So I don't know how we kind of highlight that or tell that story about what are the different programs, what are the things that we added, and why those things require additional space, and how it's impacting our teachers and staff being able to provide those programs. So
I just want to clarify, our enrollment went up, not down. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's something administratively we can work on what that looks like,
Okay.
to be more transparent that way, so people have a better understanding.
Okay.
So that's something we can work through and put on our website or whatever that looks like. Yep.
So we got our certified numbers. How much did it go up by? I thought we were down by 11, so that's good to hear. Do we know the numbers? Up 11. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. All right. And anything else from Ms. Woods? Okay. Thank you. All right. And then we have Mr. Beckel's report, which there was some fantastic information on that. And actually, I don't know if he's here, but for this one, can we have him come up and talk a little bit about these improvement numbers that we saw from the state? I think these come out once a year. These are phenomenal. So, are you able to pull it up?
So what I really wanted to highlight here is kind of the. I'm not sure if the mic.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that. So what I wanted to highlight here is just kind of the growth over the years. So this is our school performance profile that was shared with us a couple weeks ago. And what we can see here is you can see the numbers look different. So like you see 2018 to 2024, and the numbers look a little bit weird. So we started to look at like the percent of our performance score that we've hit, and really compare to our distance from the state average over the year. So you can see 2018 at the bottom there is that our difference was a negative 0.3, 2019 a positive 1.8, 2021 a negative 1.7, 2022 a positive 1, 2023 a positive 2.4, and that's again the distance from the state average. So just showing a positive trend there. And the next thing I want you to kind of look at is if you could scroll down just a touch and look at this is our conditions for learning graphs. We presented on this a while back, but the reason I want to point this out is in our performance profile, this is actually removed. And the reason to point that out is we still had positive gains there in almost every category. So if you look to the far right of that chart, it'll show the change over the last year. So like student-to-student relationships up 12 points. Physical safety up 1. And the one I'm most proud of is that adult-to-student relationships up 18, and that was our greatest gain. And the reason that makes me proud is because our teachers have been very intentional trying to be more positive with students, positive communications with students and parents. That was actually one of our goals this year. So I'm a little disappointed that that's removed from the score, mostly because the high school or secondary, that was one of the things we centered our goals around, is setting a positive culture. But if you scroll back up, sorry to make you scroll back and forth, if you would click on that comparison chart up at the top, this is where we break out the comparison of our district to others that are similar to us. And these are the different categories of the performance profile. The blue bars are the different years. So the top blue bar is this last year, and you can see how we compare to those around us or those that are similar to us. And then if you scroll down through there, you see how those different categories have changed over the years. So slightly positive gains in most of the categories. As you can tell, specifically the profile score. You can see 2021, we were ranked 10th out of 11. You scroll up, we went to 5th. Then I believe the 6th there, and then 5th again. The ISASP is one to be very proud of for us. Our ISASP scores are percent proficient. This last year we were 3rd. The year before that we were 9th. The year before that was 6th and 11th. Okay, so we're making some great gains, and that's ELA, math proficiencies, things like that. I'm going to kind of skip over toward the right instead of going through each one of the columns. The column N, this is where you start to see some change in the number, so it's hard to compare straight down there. So this last year, the conditions for learning got split into like chronic absenteeism, graduation rate, and college readiness. So you can kind of see where we've got some places to set goals as well, right? The chronic absenteeism, that's one of those things where it's a little bit harder to control, a little bit more influential, like calling parents, you know, having those meetings, some of those different state requirements that we've had this year too. Now, if you scroll to the right, this is where we're going to start to have more of a focus and set more goals. The college credits, those are our percent of students that are engaging in college credits. 64% is a great number for us. We'd like to see that continue to raise. But the work-based learning opportunities, that's one of those places where we want to see that number go up. We've got some different initiatives with our counseling center and Mrs. Dutry, some partnerships that we started to collaborate with more districts around us. Heather was here presenting a couple weeks ago, Ms. Dutry, just talking about how we're looking for those opportunities for kids. And the state's kind of defined that a little bit more recently. So again, those are places for us to set some major goals. We'd like to continue to move upward with those. But the one that kind of, the biggest dagger at my heart was the graduation rate this last year at 88%. We've had some different kids in last year's senior class that went places like the HiSET, high school equivalency test, or the new GED. And those right there, those are kind of dings on our graduation rate. I know that was a lot of talking, I'm sorry guys, but do you have any questions for me based on some of this, based on this data or information?
I think first off, thank you for pulling this all together. Again, I know that you know, coordinating and arranging for the kids to do the tests and teaching them and all that's one part of it, but you guys put in a lot of work to pull these views together for us, so we don't have to, you know, it's hard for us to digest the data. So first off, thank you for synthesizing this so the board and the community can understand where we sit and, you know, comparison. And I would concur, this is phenomenal growth, and it's great to see the quantitative aspects of the work you guys are putting in. And then I will say I also like that you're focused on, okay, what's our next goals? Like we know we're not there, what are the things we're going to focus on and what we're going to do about it? So thank you.
And I want to say too, we spent not enough time, but a little bit of time really celebrating staff with this too, because we've got some teachers that are working their tails off, doing great things for kids. And so we got them some Smoky D's and some good breakfast that day. Mr. Weber put that together for us, and just an honor in celebrating our staff too. So.
Awesome. I just have a question. The physical safety on the conditions for learning, so it was a -6 and then we went up 1. Is there a way to dig into that data? Like, is there specific information?
Yeah, is that
like,
-6 the category before?
Yeah,
So that -6 is how we compared to the state. Or no, sorry, that's the AEA. That's our local AEA, not the state, I believe. I'm trying to remember what that one was set to. You can change that center column to compare us to either our local AEA or to the entire state. The local AEA is a little bit more of a competitive score for us because it's other schools in our area. With an outlier, like Des Moines Public Schools, obviously is going to pull that down some too, based on their results. But yeah, that's what that center so we are 6 points lower than on average than the other schools in our AEA.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Beckel.
Absolutely.
And thank you to your team. All right. Next, we have the, let's see, our superintendent report. So I'll hand it over to Mr. Grandin.
Garrett, you want to come on up and
Quick update for you guys on this. So progress on the fields, we're moving along, running some cold weather here over the next couple weeks. So we got to work through some logistics on that, but things are coming together out there. We got the field lighting. I believe they were delivered earlier. Oh, it would have been last week. So we're going to wait and see what the weather does. If we can get some frozen ground, we'll get out there and set it without disturbing too much. So it's kind of this next big ticket item. Fields have been touched up. They're looking great. Irrigation's been winterized, so just got to keep pushing to get the concessions taken care of. Inside of the labs, we did have a couple of warranty items outstanding, the cord reels, the cabinet door, I believe, and those have been addressed. So again, it's still under the warranty, so if anything else comes up, we'll get in touch, but we addressed those. So we'll be getting some closeout documentations for you guys, so Rick knows what to look for if he needs to do some maintenance and whatnot on it, but that one's closed out and concessions moving right along. I did send an updated, I think you guys got it, that kind of change event summary. Since we met last time, we did get pricing for 2 more things. I believe they're on the agenda for approval today, maybe, okay. And that was just canopy steel modification, pretty minor change out in the field just to make a detail work. And the other one was an owner requested site lighting. So if you guys have that pricing, it's been reviewed. If you got questions, we can certainly take those tonight or at a different time. So, any questions?
Did you guys get the parking lot sealed?
Yes. Yes, it is sealed.
Last time I was out there, it wasn't sealed.
Joints are sealed. It's been
Okay.
striped. I believe
Okay.
we're waiting for a second coat of striping. It's supposed to get 2 coats. It's gotten 1.
All right, are the sidewalks sealed?
They should have been if the parking lot was. I'll double check.
I didn't know if you guys called out for it or not.
I'll double check that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Gary? All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
the
you, guys.
time. Yep.
All right, so just wanted to give a update on the high school AC project. Remember, this is just for the instructional classrooms, does not include the gym or the kitchen. So we've been tackling this for a while now. I think at the October meeting, the hope was that we'd have a decision and ready to move forward with it by now. So I've been able to meet with 2 architects, ISG and OPN. I sent you guys both of those numbers. ISG came in about $18,000 to engineer and do that work with the bid process. OPN was about $27,000 to do that process. I was also able to meet with contractors to get an idea of what this would look like if we just didn't use that architect structure and just did it as a project on our own, which would be a cost savings of the 18 or the 27,000. Rick and I met with contractors. April was there as well. And as of right now, based on feedback from tonight, I think we're comfortable moving forward with the project without the architect and doing the project on our own. I've been part of building projects. April's been part of building projects previously, and with Rick as well, that we're comfortable moving forward without involving the architect in this to finish out the instructional spaces. So it's not an action item. I don't have the numbers for you tonight. We're hoping by early next week to have solid numbers on electrical and the air conditioning units. So it could entail a special meeting to approve those. But just want your feedback on if you guys are comfortable with that, we'll keep moving and do that. If not, then we'll have to have a special meeting to approve either OPN or ISG to do the work, right? So, yeah, just let me know and give me some feedback on the direction.
So does that mean that you guys would compile all of the bids? You would send the bids out, you would compile them, we don't have that middleman to pretty it up and, I mean, I know you're gonna, you're gonna recap it all for us, but is that what that means? If we're gonna do it in-house, that you guys are gonna be in charge of the bids and?
Yes, it'll depend on when we get those quotes and bids in, if it's in the competitive quote threshold or the competitive bid threshold on which direction we go. From numbers that we've kind of been told, it sounds like we'll be in that more of the competitive quote. So we will need to reach out and attempt to get at least 3 quotes for each piece of the project. So, but we're willing to do that, and I think we can do that and keep it moving forward faster.
Well, I believe it's a great idea. You'll have the $17,000 to $18,000 as a contingency. We already have the original drawings that have all the calculations of what we actually need. And the contractors that you're already talking to are ones that have done the rest of the school. So, good job.
I am also supportive. I also want to, kind of point out, if you guys remember, this was, I think the agenda item a couple board meetings back where it was 30,000, and we had a great debate on it, and we decided to table it, to go back and get some more information, and I think this is, kind of fantastic. We're, through that process, through that deliberation, potentially saving the taxpayers, $18,000. So I'm supportive, and thank you for taking the time to go through that and having some patience for us as we learn and ask questions, and so. Okay. Okay, so next we have the, Mr. Grant and April are going to talk to us a little bit about this, but the retirement plan for, and I'm sorry, I lost my space here, for staff. This is just a discussion this time around, no decisions, but a little bit about, what our options are, what staff are available, and the different cost impacts of this. As a reminder, this is out of the general fund. So with that, I'll just hand it over to April to talk us a little bit through the options and where we're at.
It's the management fund for the
Thank you.
retirement
Management
incentive.
fund. My goodness.
I know, there's lots of pots of money. So this was for just your support staff that are covered by that support union. This was something that was decided last January, so a little less than a year ago, is how it came to the board. And so that first document that's in the square, that's what was approved a little less than a year ago. No one from this group of employees took the retirement/retention incentive, because it is somewhat of a retention where it's building if they stay longer also. But it is something that would need to be decided on every year. So just like the teacher's retirement incentive that we did the last meeting. So just kind of going through the different options. The first one is if we leave it exactly the same. Option 1 is to increase each one of those categories by 1,000 and leave the sick day value the same. Option 2 is to decrease by 1,000. Option 3 is to decrease by 2,000. And then with those, there's a little bit of value difference on the sick days also. And these were as of whatever day I pulled it together on what the balance of sick leave were for those individuals that had a balance of sick leave that would have value too. And this is all
Yep.
at the age 55 and 15 years of service
Yep.
on this sheet.
So again, just discussion today, this could come, you know, back as or will come back as a future decision item on a future board meeting. But I think one of the things, April, if you can help me out here, management fund, and get that right. Management fund is replenished by property taxes,
Yep,
correct?
100% property
Yeah,
tax.
100% property taxes. And some of the other discussions that we're having, you know, impact property taxes and the levy rate and things like that, including the levy rate discussion that we're going to end up, you know, going through annually here probably in the next couple of months. So I think it's important to point out, and actually I'll take a pause. Monica and I sat through some training sessions, and we're going to get into that here in a bit, but without going into too much detail, it's important to note that this isn't a sure thing every single year, because that property taxes and what we're doing with other things, you know, at the school district, impact that bucket of money. Like, there's only so much that's in that money or in that bucket. So I think it's important to point that out as we go, you know, through making decisions, that both of those, the staff and the teacher, this particular benefit comes out of that bucket of money. So. And I think I just want to point out, as we, you know, make other decisions to support the, you know, the building and other things we have to do. You know, one of the first things we have to do is fiscally, you know, responsible. We want to take care of our people for sure, but if we don't have the money, we don't have the money each year. So I think the other hard part of that is those sick days are things that they have earned, and it's in their bucket, right? Over time. So there may be other options to pay out just sick days or other things. You know, is that correct? We can kind of play with this in different ways each year?
Yes, as long as it's in the retirement incentive. So
Yep.
if someone's leaving us, then we can put that into the calculation of what the dollar amount is that they would receive, and then it can be paid out of management fund.
Yep. Okay.
But that's a conversation, does that usually happen, so with I'm not on the support staff, the negotiations, thank you. So is this part of the conversation with the support negotiations when they talk about it last year? It's not?
I
Okay.
think they had participation from those representatives for that union, but it wasn't part of their master agreement or anything like that. It's
Okay.
completely outside of it.
Okay. Yeah, I would reiterate what Nathan has said, that while, you know, we'd love to do like an incentive every single year, we do have to look at and sort of plan and forecast ahead. So it is something that we just really need to be conscious of and fiscally smart about. And to, you know, reward longevity. So I think, you know, maybe down the road, if we have to look at being a little bit more creative with what that would possibly look like, we may have to do that. But I think it's a good discussion around what we have presented and what's approved right now.
Okay. All right.
If anyone thinks of any other types of calculations you want me to run, just send me an email and I can send it out to everybody.
Next, we have the financial report update, discussion of an updated financial report focus on the general fund. Different
Yes.
from the management fund.
So this is, we're just looking for feedback from you guys. There's been lots of different conversations about what information you really wanted and needed. So April's been working on this report for you guys to take a look at, to see if this is something that would be helpful, that she can just continue to update every month, so you guys have kind of an umbrella look at where those funds are, looking at the general fund bucket. If not, and you say, no, it's not useful, that's fine. But otherwise, I think it'll give you at least a quick look at where things are at.
Now, if you'd have had this on the last board meeting prior to me attending the Finance 201, I probably would have just mind exploded and said, sure, but I wouldn't know how to digest it.
Yeah.
I'll be transparent, not that I fully understand, how to digest this, but I think I would continue like to see it as I, now understand more about UAB and understanding, where a healthy district sits financially. It's good to see how we're tracking this over time and decisions. I think more importantly, some of the financial decisions that we have to make, having an understanding of how it may affect that UAB or the solvency ratio or the percentage of revenue spent or percentage of authorized budget, like all of that stuff. I think I'm looking at each of the decisions we make now through a different lens, and this will help. Maybe at a minimum, me not asking you 1,000 questions because I can self-service by referencing it. So thank you for pulling this together. Any other questions on that? Okay. And this is something you'll just update with each board meeting and
the expenditure.
yeah. And if it's too much, each board meeting, maybe just quarterly. I mean, it's not bad. Okay. All right. All right, and next we have the IASB convention recap. So myself and Mr. Grandin and Monica were able to attend. I think I'll step back and see. Monica, did you want to start and offer kind of some of your observations? And
This was my first time attending the convention, and lots of useful information. I know Melissa's gone a couple times in the past. Dan, Jessica, if you get a chance to go in the next couple of years, it would be, you went last year, yeah, that's right. But lots of useful information, different classes that we can sit in on Thursday during the actual convention. There were different sessions, and all three of us went to one on cell phone policies, and then that was quite useful information. A couple of schools were there to discuss where they sit with those policies that they've enacted and how it's affecting their classrooms. On Wednesday, I went to, with Nathan, we attended, I attended one finance class in the morning, and then in the afternoon we attended another. And lots of goes through, we actually got our school-specific information that goes, and it goes through and talks about where we sit, gives different graphs as to where we sit as a district within the state, which we're sitting pretty good. But we do need to watch some of those things that do affect some of those numbers that do go into our buckets.
thank you. Yes, and I'll pass this down. This is all public information, but in that Finance 201 session that Monica and I sat in on, they gave us these printouts for our district and the various, financial levers that you have to monitor. And it's actually funny, I made a couple notes on policy recommendations, and I took a screenshot and sent it to April, and she responded back, oh, that's on the agenda for this board meeting on some of that stuff. So it's actually very, very useful course. So from mine, I had a little bit different experience. So during the last board meeting, you all elected me as the delegate representative. So I spent all day Thursday, let me get that right, Wednesday, thank you, Wednesday at the delegate conference, which each school board across the state elected one delegate. And the gist of what it was about 4 hours of the delegates going through the IASB legislative priorities and best way I can say is kind of platform planks for IASB. And we would vote on these things as a delegate. So votes are kind of, divvied out based off enrollment. So this was mine, Interstate 35 Community School District. We got one vote, where Des Moines Public Schools had 13 votes. And it was quite an interesting process. We actually went through, you could file, amendments to different things. So they have a legislative resolution committee that spends throughout the year kind of collecting these priorities that IASB wants to lobby the legislative body for. And then the delegates would read each one and we would vote on them. But you could also do amendments. So one of the things, I got up, I was a little bit nervous, but one of the things was chronic absenteeism came up. And I got up and spoke on behalf of our board about how the state's definition of that is really affecting our school district, and we have concerns. And I started a wave. After that, nearly, 15 or 20 other rural school district delegates got up and started speaking, and we actually put forth an amendment. They had to pause it for about 20 minutes while we wrote an amendment, and that amendment basically is telling IASB, hey, when you lobby the legislator, the definition of absenteeism should be to a local board, not at the state level. So we can define what absenteeism is for our district and be able to do that. And I'm happy to say that enough school districts rallied with enough votes to make that amendment, and it passed. So it was a very fun experience, very long day. It was about five hours with that. I'm also happy to say that through that process, I felt that rural school districts needed to kind of shift left and be upfront in the legislative resolution committee process. So I lobbied and requested to be a part of the ISB Legislative Resolution Committee, and I was granted that. It will go before the ISB board, and hopefully without any issues, I will then be a representative on the ISB's Legislative Resolution Committee. So that was fun there. Thursday I went through several sessions. I'm not going to go through that because I don't want to take up too much time, but Friday, I was there 3 days. So Friday I went to the board president's workshop, which was a phenomenal experience. I was with, I think, 200 other board presidents for about 4 hours, and we went through various scenarios of superintendent end of year review to how to effectively run a meeting, how to bring your team together, things like that. But at the end of it, the board presidents that attended were given something. If you all look at your desk here, this was kind of a little, best way I can describe it is a cheat sheet for various things for school board members. So if you see on the right on the back, you have a simplified chart of parliamentary motions on there, and then Iowa open meetings law stuff. And then some of the spending authority stuff we talked about, the definitions are on here, and it's got our logo on it, and then so it's basically a various cheat sheet for board members for you guys to have. We can either leave them with April, and she can have them out here for each of the meetings. But that was a pretty cool parting gift from IASB as I left that working session. So. Other than that, it was the speakers that they had for, the main speakers or whatever, they were phenomenal. One of the more impactful one was kind of a poverty-informed view of a school and how, poverty affects kids' learnings in different ways that you can, make different policy decisions and different things to help those kids, because obviously everybody can learn, but each person's different and unique. So that's what I thought was the most impactful for me, and I'm going to write some stuff up and notes and send out to the team about what I learned and some of the things that I would like for potentially us to continue focusing on as a district based off what I learned. So it was a good time.
Yeah, I'll kind of reiterate what's already been said. So I've been to the conference 3 times as superintendent. I would say this is probably the best one I've been to as far as who they brought in as their main speakers. The sessions I went to a cell phone policy session, board superintendent shared goals session, and then an artificial intelligence policy session, which I think which I took away a lot from that as we've been having those discussions administratively as well, and how that impacts students and teaching as well, and the direction society is going with AI, what that means for Interstate 35. So, but I think, I would agree, I think there's definitely, it was eye-opening, like, yeah, we got work to do and conversations to have, and it's exciting to be able to move forward with some of that stuff. So it was good conference.
Thank you, April, for coordinating that, by the way, for all of us. So we are, the other thing, ISB does board awards, and as a team, we are one session away from a board award, and I'm going to be making sure we get that award. So look forward to an upcoming ISB session. So, all right. Next, we have, any other questions on that or anything? Okay. Next, we have the board policy updates. This is the first reading, so there's no vote or action or anything on this. I was looking at these. It just looked like basic syntax, changes. It's not any policy change or anything. So updates to the numbers. Yep. Is there any question or discussion on the first reading? Okay. Like I said, they're mainly, it just looks like changing of words and stuff that I thought we already did, like required computer science, at least one grade level and things, so.
And you may have.
Yep.
You may have done that, but they change it frequently sometimes, depending on who wants to make the decision, so it just needs to be updated when they send it out.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on that? Okay, consider first reading. All right, next we have discuss and approve consent items. I will go through each one of these one by one, but they're a single vote for this one. So we have the past meeting minutes for the workshop, the October regular board meeting, and then the 11/13 board special meeting. The monthly bills and financial statements, resignation and contracts. Brittany, and I'm sorry, I hope I get this right, Vidalis for 4th grade teacher. That's fantastic. We just approved that opening last month, and we got a hire already, so that's good to see. What are we doing here? Open enrollment. So we have 4 open enrollments. Let you guys read those. And then that's it. The next one's the action agenda. So, yep. So just those. Is there any discussion on the consent items? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
It's been properly motioned to approve the consent items. So I have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next, we'll move on to the action agenda. First thing is approval of the Spanish trip for spring of 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the Spanish trip for spring 2020.
Should say 2026.
2026. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. It's been properly motioned to approve the Spanish trip for spring of 2026. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next, we have E-rate managed service by Green Hills AEA. I don't know, Chad, if you want to give a quick synopsis on that one.
So E-rate is a federal program that allows us to get money for some of our technology-focused projects. I don't know how the best way to describe it. It's very complicated.
It's just
Heather does a nice job with it, but it's going to be helpful to have somebody look through everything because it's very particular. I mean, it's a federal program. You want to add something to it? It's hard to explain.
Every year there's different categories, and it could talk about your cabling size that's running through your building from your access points or access points. There's just so many different categories that come up in the years that they look at and what's covered, that having someone who specializes in it and being able to walk us through the bids and get the bids is gonna help us a lot on that. And it's like, not that Heather was doing anything wrong with any of it, it's just that's gonna be an easier way to do it and be able to see what we can do and get more of the percentage paid. It's not always 100% that they pay, but they pay quite a big a percentage on different projects and categories that are hitting for the year.
Will this allow us to see a broader of services, or I mean,
It could. The gentleman that helps could find things that we don't see that could qualify for E-rate funding, yes. Yeah.
So if I summarize, it's basically proven a way to help us get more money from the federal government for our school. Okay. Enough said for me. Okay. Is there any other discussion? All right. See no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve the E-rate managed service by Green Hills AEA.
It's been properly motioned. Do I have a second?
I second.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Next, we have approval of the school-based mental health services. It's approve a contract with Heart and Solutions LLC to provide school-based mental health services.
Yeah, so this would allow Heart and Solutions counselor to come into the school and work with students directly here at school. So right now, if a student is receiving mental health services, they have to leave school for an hour, 2 hours, potentially more, half the day to go receive those services. This agreement would bring that counselor into the district. We'd get them a spot, meet with that student, and they would miss a class period potentially, but it would not be hours at a time. There's no cost to the district. We provide them the space, a fob potentially, so they can meet with that student on breaks, summer, that type of thing, potentially. So I think it's just another opportunity for our kids to receive some services. In my previous district, we actually partnered with 2 companies and just really found a lot of benefits from it. So
I have a quick question. The part of the contract, it was talking about how at the very end, confidential at students' discretion and what they share in counseling. How do the parents get involved in the support and need for their kids and know what's, I understand HIPAA, but I believe as a student that doesn't fall under HIPAA
Yeah, so
if they're a minor.
Yeah, good question. So it would work just like if you would go to a doctor's office, right? It'd be the same thing. They follow those same guidelines and rules that way. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Yeah. So they work right with the insurance company. So the district's responsibility is to provide referrals, right? So that the company has students to work with, and then the district doesn't have any other responsibility there. Then they work with the family as far as insurance or anything like that.
Okay,
The
got it.
company does.
Does this,
Yep.
so this will save manpower for like a driver that's hired by the school or somebody that works for the school before was driving students to their session?
No, the
to
families
counsel?
were.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
no.
Thank you.
And just to confirm, I want to make sure, because I think I understood this, you and I talked a little bit about this. This is the parent and the school doesn't refer the student to this place, right? The school is referring the parent in the situation to these services, and we're just offering space. Like, it's the parent working with it's not our staff working with these people to provide the services in lieu of the parent, like the parent's involved in it.
Right, the parents
Yep.
involved the whole way.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
yep.
Is there any further discussion? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve the mental health service.
It's been properly motion to approve the school-based mental health services. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
SBRC application request, open enrollment out. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped 4. Go back here. Approval of the baseball, softball project change orders. So there's some change orders for the parking lot lighting and canopy steel for $22,975. Is there a discussion?
Well, Garrett's left, so it's hard to ask him the question I want to ask him. They said it took 8 hours to miter the corners on this steel frame. I just want to know how big the steel frame was that they were mitering the corners on, because that's a decent amount of hours.
Is there any further discussion on the change orders? We're still looking good on our contingency fund, April? No concerns? Yeah. I know we're eating into it, so, okay. I assumed it wouldn't be on here if we didn't have money in the bucket for it, so. Oh, okay, all right. So 229,000 remaining, okay. All right, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the baseball and softball project change orders.
From property motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now we have SBRC application requests, open enrollment out. I guess districts may request modified supplemental amount of spending authority. Again, something else I learned a lot on. Or on-time funding award for the current year. The current year's open enrollment out was not on prior year's head count. So we're asking for approval of the SBRC application request for open enrollment out MSA of, what is that, 193,174. That was a mouthful. Is there discussion, or Chad, do you want to, April, give a quick update or a quick synopsis of what that is? Yep.
So basically, our open enrolled out, it'd be new students that weren't on the head count from the prior year that are going out. And somehow the open enrolled in calculate in that too. The state, once we get our certified enrollment and the beds, everything gets calculated in, and then they tell us what that, what we can request for that additional MSA. And then it goes into your spending authority and gives you that on-time funding, so we will receive that.
Yeah, just so if I understand it, kid moves into the district, or part of our district, but they immediately open enroll to another school. That school was asking us for a check, but that person didn't show up on our, certified enrollment or whatever, so this is getting that money from the state for them.
Our certified enrollment that we just had the count day of 10-1 is for next school year. So that's what's happening this year, is giving us that on-time funding.
Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the SBRC application request for open enrollment out.
I'll make a motion to approve the SBRC application request.
Is there a properly motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye. 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 Opposed? All right. Next, we have the MOU for the TPRA program with William Penn University. William Penn University and I-35 School District are entering into agreement for the reimbursement to William Penn for tuition costs. Just trying to summarize, for teacher, paraeducator apprentices selected for the teacher and paraeducator registered apprentice program. Currently, we have 2 employees participating in the program. We'll approve the adoption of the MOU for the TPRA program between William Penn and I-35. That's a lot of acronyms. Is there a discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the MOU for the TPRA program with WPU.
I will make a motion for the MOU for the TPRA program with William Penn.
It's been properly moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Next, we have a resolution to consider continued participation in instructional support program. So Iowa School District can establish an instructional support program to provide additional funding for educational programming. This is a resolution to consider continued participation in the instructional support program and schedule a public hearing. The board announces its intent to continue participation in the instructional support program and to schedule a public hearing. A notice of the hearing, including the date, time, and place, and part of these proceedings. The notice of the public hearing published is titled Notice of Consideration of Proposal to Continue Participation in the Instructional Support Program. The notice must be published in one or more newspapers not less than 10 or more than 20 days before the public hearing. Publication must be a newspaper, which is a newspaper of general circulation in the district. The recommendation is to move to adopt the resolution to consider continued participation in the instructional support program as provided. The public hearing will be held here in this auditorium at 6 p.m. on Monday, December 16th, 2024. Could you summarize that for us, what that is?
We currently already participate in the instructional support program. It is board approved for 5 years, so that is expiring at the end of this year. It gives us, we can get up to 10% of the cost per pupil additional for education funds that are coming in, and then you're also able to use income surtax. With that also, this will give us that flexibility. Those rates we will set every time with a budget too, but this gives us the authority to get at least that 10% more per pupil.
So, we don't have an income surtax right now, and what I thought I learned in my class, which maybe I didn't, was that you can't really dip in more. You basically transfer it from property tax to income surtax if you wanted to, and really they said the only way most districts do the income surtax is that they want renters to actually, pay. I don't know if that.
I think it's mine.
So this isn't a public hearing to propose an income surtax, is it? Or
So we did put the option on that we can use income surtax. The least amount would be 1%. We're currently at 0% of state taxable income. So we did have them put it together with an option of using income surtax, and so it would be a minimum of 1% when it comes to budget. The voted PEPAL is the other one that sometimes has an option, and that one does not have an option for us, and that doesn't expire till I think 28.
so if you do the 1% on the income surtax, then the property tax goes down by 1%.
By whatever that dollar amount.
Yeah, yeah.
1%, last year equated to about 11 to 12 cents a property tax. If
Okay.
you used 1% income surtax, it equated to around there.
Okay, and is there a reason why we would want to move it over to income surtax versus just staying with the
It gives you
property tax?
flexibility
Oh,
in your
flexibility,
property
because you can't
tax.
spend that
Then
on
you-
the property.
Then
Okay,
you
yeah.
have the flexibility
To spend it
of-
on something else.
and
Yeah.
to get that 10% additional that the ISP program is giving us, that we've got the flexibility then to get those dollars in by income surtax instead of property tax.
Yep.
The minimum would be 1%, so that would be a change going from 0 to 1 would be the minimum. We would have possibly up to about 8% is usually about the max you can do.
Okay. This makes sense on the public hearing. I was like,
Yep.
why all this for a public hearing? But yeah,
And
you're dealing with tax.
Even
yeah.
if we didn't put the option in for the income surtax, then We would still have to have a public hearing because, again, it has to renew every 5 years.
Okay.
And when it comes to budget, we'll do a comparison of what that income surtax is in surrounding areas to see do we want to look at all at that or not? Or just leave it at the minimum 1%, which is fine too. It just gives us that option.
So this public hearing about this is on December 16th at 6 PM here in this auditorium, during our regular meeting.
Yes.
Okay. We're not gonna have any action items on that meeting though, it's just the hearing, or will you have?
We'll have our regular board meeting
Yeah.
on the 16th.
And is there gonna be an action item to?
Yes, to have the board consider.
Okay,
The public hearing is to hear any of the public input, and then the motion would be to, yes, consider and adopt the resolution to participate in the ISP
Okay.
program.
Are we already participating in it?
Yes,
And it's just coming out of property taxes?
correct.
Okay. Are you going to have a recommendation, or do you know what your recommendation is to move it, it sounds like, over to a surtax, income
It's
surtax?
combined,
Oh, combined.
to
Okay.
have the option of.
Okay,
So, and that decision of what that mixture between property and income surtax will be when we submit our budget for the next school year. It's
Okay.
not anything that's happening right now, it's just that ISP program is expiring.
okay, all right. Thank you for your
Yep.
patience. And I apologize, board members, if you guys had some questions.
IASB program, that's throwing me off. That's not the IASB.
ISP.
Okay, thank you.
And then, because we call it the ISL, because all year long we talk about it being the levy.
Yeah,
But it is actually the instructional support program. Yep.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Can I just come in one day in the next couple weeks and you explain more of this to me? I don't want to take a bunch of time tonight, but I would really like to know. All right, thanks.
Yeah, and I would encourage you, if you have more questions, anybody do that, so I might as well, so, all right. All right, so what is this? It's approving the public meeting, essentially?
Yes, the board
Okay.
has to announce that they are considering
Okay.
and make board action to have the public hearing for this program.
Okay, thank you.
So it's just a motion.
Yeah, so,
This is just a motion to consider.
well, it's, and have the public hearing, so. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion on the resolution to consider continued participation in the instructional support program and to have the public hearing regarding that topic at 6 PM on Monday, December 16th in this auditorium.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution to consider continued participation in the instructional support program with a public hearing to be held here in the auditorium at 6 PM on Monday, December 16th.
Nailed it. Good job, Monica. I have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Been properly motioned and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next item on the agenda is to go to closed session to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered with a closed session is necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual requests the closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.51I. And this does require a motion and a second.
I'll motion to go to closed
Yet
session.
we need to clear the room
Oh, yeah.
before we can go into closed session.
Before you can go into closed session. 'Cause once you're in closed session,
So going into closed session, essentially, we'll shut down the recording and everyone will leave, and then it's just the board in closed session. Does that? Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So it's been properly motioned. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Been properly motioned and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye. 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 Opposed? All right, we'll take a quick 15-minute recess.